Hello and welcome to Rising Stars. Today's video is another painting activity. Now this can be done as a lesson for older children, but an art class for older children, but as an activity for younger children in nursery. Okay, so what you're going to need to give them is some paint brushes. Now these are more suitable for reception, year 1 age group, okay, because they're longer, okay. And then they're going to need paper, but for the nursery age group they can use shorter paint brushes such as these, okay. And if you're going to be doing this activity at home, they can use either the short ones or the long ones, no matter their age, okay. Now these are my son's ones, so I won't be using it in this activity, but I just wanted it for illustration purpose. And then they're going to need plain paper, okay, plain paper, and they're going to need somewhere to put paint, okay. If you're at home, you can use a bowl like this or a plate that is no longer being used for eating, okay. This is their play one, or you can get them inexpensive paint palettes such as this one. If you're in an art class, you're most likely going to be using a paint palette, something like this or similar, okay. And then you're also going to need some paints, okay. I always say put 3 to 4 because you don't want them arguing over the paint, but also you want them to be able to have their own paint to start with, because typically in lessons or in nurseries is 4 children per table, so putting out the exact number for each child to start the activity with is more beneficial. That way they don't have to argue, okay. And also they can have individual palettes, paint palettes, okay, or they can share between the two and two, okay. So that's how you do it, but they take turns in putting the paint on the paint palettes, okay, or whatever tub you're going to use to put the paint in. And then what else? Another thing that we'll need is water, somewhere to dip their paint brushes in, and they'll also need, or you can use disposable paper cups or paint pots, okay. For art lessons they normally have paint pots. I don't have paint pot here, so I'm going to be improvising with a cup that we no longer use, okay. It's an activity cup that we use at home. Alright, if you're at home you can use either disposable paper cups or a cup that they no longer use for drinking purposes in the house, okay. So that is it. So I'm going to start demonstrating the activity. So this is a water brush, brushed paper, water brushed paper. So I'm going to put paint first, going in with the yellow, okay. Now this is where the adult can supervise for younger children, for the children in nursery, okay. You, the adult, can supervise this part of putting the paint in the paint palette, okay. I'm going to use paint palette instead of this, okay, because it's better in terms of separating my colors, okay. But one of these days I'll show you how to improvise that using that. Now it's always better for them to use just enough paint that they'll use for the activity. Put enough paint just for the activity. But if they happen to over pour the paint and it doesn't get used up for that activity, you can always cover it with cling film and put it on the side for another set of children to come and do the activity, or for another day. Okay, so that way you're not wasting paint. So this is how you'll start to dip your paint brush into the water. And so they'll need 2 sets of brushes, okay, at least two sets of brushes, a big one and a small one, okay, like this. So the big one is to brush the water on, and then they can use it to dip in paint afterwards. Okay, so you have to explain to them the activity so that they don't end up using the cup like that to pour. Okay, because that's what the nursery children would do. They'll just pour the water and everywhere will just be wet. Okay, so if you can put something under on the table to prevent it from spoiling the table. Okay, so you can use table mat, you know, those mats, those paint mats. But because what we're using here, I don't mind, because it's going to end up in the bin. So I'll just wipe it after. But eventually it's going to go in the bin. It's one of those worn out furnitures. And I don't have any table material to put down, so it's fine. So that's why I haven't put any on there. I just will wipe it off. Any paint that goes on, any bit of water that goes onto the furniture, I'll just wipe it off after this illustration. So now that my paper is fully brushed with water, I can start to paint. Okay, so once they've brushed their paper with water completely, they can start to paint using their paintbrush. Okay, so they'll dip let them know they need to dip and wash their paintbrush in the water. And then use it to get another paint. So that way they don't mix up the paint for the rest of their pairs. Okay. If you only have secondary colors for paint, you can use that for this activity. If you have only primary colors, it's even better, because with the primary colors you can always mix the colors to make more colors. Okay, so I'll show you in a minute what I mean. Okay, for this activity, now you get the yellow. create the white. You see what I mean? The brush has changed, has made what's it called, a change in the color of the paint, because the water is now dirty, so you need to keep replacing the water, and that is your job as the nursery nurse, okay, when you're working with the younger children. But the older children can always get up and change the water themselves. Okay, so now I'll start to paint. So they can just do it straight away. Remember, when they're doing these activities, they're just exploring, so they're not necessarily creating a specific picture, but older children may want to create specific pictures. Okay, like the year 1s and the year 2s and 3s and 4 and 5 and 6, they may want to create specific pictures, but in the preschool age, they just want to just express their creativity. They won't necessarily do a specific picture, although when you ask them, they may say, oh, these are clouds, and this is flowers, this is mummy, this is me, this is daddy. See, unless you put an object for them to draw and to paint, don't expect them to come up with a specific picture. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to create the secondary colors. So with the secondary colors, if they wanted green, because there's always a child who wants another color. So if they wanted green and you didn't have green, but you had yellow, not to worry, you had yellow and blue, you'll tell them to mix it on the side, okay, or you mix it for them, and then you let them mix it like that, okay, and then you see, now you have green. Okay, and then they can put it wherever they want to paint the green. Okay, and if they wanted to make purple, if they wanted purple and you didn't have purple but you had red and blue, you'd get them to mix. I should have washed my paintbrush. So you get them to mix. And they say you need a bit more red. So now they can use it. It's dark purple. So and if they wanted orange and you didn't have orange but you had yellow, and you had red, you mix the two together. And you get orange. Okay, so they can now use and once they've finished painting, they can let it dry, and you can hang it on the windowsill, on the window of your setting. Okay, if they do more than one, they can take one of them home, but if they only decide to do just one, then you just let them take the one that they've created home. Okay, or you put it in their book or folder for them to take home at the end of the year. Okay, or at the end of the day, because some children like to take their work at the end of the day instead of the end of the term. So that's it. this is an activity that you can do in a nursery setting or a school setting or at home if you're a parent watching this video. Okay, you can let your children do it at home or your child do it at home. Okay, so that's it. I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good evening. Bye.